Good morning, students. Hi, everyone. Welcome to virtual learning class. So, I hope you are doing well. Each and every student now busy in their classes, right? In the virtual learning class. So, in the previous session, we have seen history chapter. Okay? So, now we are going to learn geography lesson number 2. In the interaction or in the revision, we have seen resources, chapter number 1. Fine. So that's why in the second chapter, more resources we are going to learn. Okay, here we go. So, chapter 2nd. In the chapter 2nd, we are going to learn land, soil, water, natural vegetation, and wildlife resources. Why resources are so important, and when we can use all that resources, why it is important in the first chapter we have seen, and particularly that particular resource when we can use, that we are going to learn in this chapter. Okay, means land, soil, water, natural vegetation, and wildlife. So that can be also a resource. Okay, so we will start our chapter. So we are going to start with at first land. So we can say that land is among the most important natural resource. Okay, it covers only about 30% of total area of the earth's surface, and all parts of the small percentage are not habitable. Means what? 90% of the population lives on, if suppose we will take a reference of globe, 90% of the population lives on 30% of land area. Okay, so nearly 70% of land area is not habited. We can find it in the form of hot desert or the frozen sheets. Okay, so the uneven distribution of population in different parts of the world is mainly due to varied characteristics of land and climate, and it can be depend, or it can be concerned through few elements. So plains and river valleys offer suitable land for agriculture actually, and that land is having different purposes, different uses. For example, we can say um, land is used for forestry, mining, building houses, roads, and setting up of industries. Okay, so this is commonly termed as land use. Means for which purposes land can be used. So the use of land is determined by the physical factors such as topography, soil, climate, minerals, and availability of water, and human factors such as population and technology. Technology means availability of particular factor over there. Availability of technology can be matters a lot. So it determines of land use pattern. According to land pattern, according to land structure, it can be depend. In the next slide we are going to go through one chart which can be distribute, which can be use, how land can be used in selected countries in a percentage form. So here you can see, so we will look out India. So there are cropland, pastures, forest and other uses of land. Okay, so for the cropland, 57% land can be used, for pastures 4%, forest 22nd, and other use 17. Okay, so in this way, um, land can be also classified on the basis of ownership, means private land and community land. Okay, so that we are going to learn what is meant by private land and what is meant by community land. So first of all, private land. Private land is owned by individuals. Okay, means that is a private property. And community land is owned by the community for the common uses, like collection of fodder, fruits, nuts, or medicinal herbs, or roadways, government gardens, basic amenities, for that purposes. And private, which is the private property to build a house, to build a particular factory, etc. So that will be the private and community land. So these community lands are also called common property resources, means that are used for common purposes. Common property resources, it can be called as a CPR, common property resources. Okay, so people and their demands are ever growing, but availability of land is limited, as we have seen. Correct, demand is growing but availability is very less. So the quality of land also differs from place to place, and people started encroaching the common lands to build up commercial areas. They are grabbing all the common areas. Nowadays we are also facing that problem. We don't have that much place to play outside. Childrens are not that much area to play outside. So that common problems, we can say, that we are facing, because housing complexes in the urban areas and to expand the agricultural land in rural areas. Today, the vast changes in the land use pattern also reflect the cultural changes in our society, and it can be cause land degradation, landslides, soil erosion, desertification are the major threats to the environment because of the expansion of agriculture and construction activity that we are going to learn in the next few slides. So here we can observe and we can differentiate different purposes and different uses changes day by day. So in the first picture you can see over there, only land is used for only agriculture purpose, and only few area of that particular land for build a house. In the second picture, it can be a increased position. In the third picture, a day by day when demands are increasing, and that time we can found over there land become compressed over there, and it takes place of the buildings and roadways. And in the fourth picture you can clearly observe a cement forest, we can say. Am I right? So these are the changes occur day by day. Okay, we will move towards next slide. Okay, so methods to conserve land resource. Growing population and their ever growing demand has led to a large scale destruction of forest. And that is created a fear of losing this natural resource actually, and therefore the present rate of degradation of the land must be checked, means whether that land is in a proper condition or not. Okay, so afforestation, land reclamation, regulated use of chemical pesticides and fertilizers, and checks on overgrazing are some of the common methods used to conserve land resource. Okay, we have to take care of all these things. Landslides means landslides can be simply defined as a mass movement of rock. Okay, it debris or earth down a slope. In the next few slides I will show you. They often take place in conjunction with earthquakes, floods, and volcanoes. A prolonged spell of rainfall can cause a heavy landslide. Okay, so that can block the flow of river for quite some time. And the formation of the river blocks can cause for the settlement of downstream on its breasting. In the hilly terrain, landslides have been a major and widely spread natural disaster. Okay, why? Because it will come from the higher level. That's why it can be a disaster for everyone, and that often strike life and property and occupy a position of major concern. Okay, that were all about the land resource. Now we will move towards next resource, that is soil. Here we go. So the thin layer of grainy substance covering the surface of the earth is called soil. So here you can define soil. A thin layer of grainy substance covering the surface, which is covered by green, of the earth, it's called soil, and it is closely linked to the land. Landforms determine the type of soil, and soil is made up of organic matter, minerals, and weathered rock found on the earth. Weathered rock means what? Can you guess what is meant by weathered rock? Weathered rock means it can be having implementation or having because of natural disaster, because of temperature changes, frost action, it can change. So that weathered rock found on the earth, and this happens through the process of weathering, and the right mix of minerals and organic matter make the soil fertile. Okay, so in the picture you can see different layers of soil. Okay, so at first that formation factors, few factors regarding the soil. So first one is parent rock. So parent rock, it means it determines color. Okay, then texture, chemical properties, minerals content. Okay, then next one is weathered rock material. Due to different climatic condition, different climatic changes, it is formed. Then third layer is subsoil with sand and silt and clay. That is the third layer. And fourth layer is topsoil with humus and vegetation. Okay, that is the top layer. The topsoil with humus and vegetation. Okay, greenery you can see over there, and humus, which is the dried material, we can say, that is covered with the top layer, or the because of fermentation, because of fungus that soil can conserve, soil can um, grab all the water from the rainfall. Okay, here we go. The factors of soil formation. So few factors are there. So the major factors of soil formation are the nature of parent rock and climatic factors. And other factors are the topography, role of organic material, and time taken for composition of soil formation. And all these differ from place to place. Definitely, place to place it can be different. So first of all, we can say climate, then time, then parent rock, then relief, flora, fauna, and microorganism. So first one is climate. So in climate, which factors can include temperature, rainfall influence, rate of weathering, and humus. That can be included in the climatic condition or the climate. Then time determines thickness of soil profile. So to build up a thickness, particular thickness, it will take a lots of time for that soil formation. Then parent rock, as we have seen, determines color, texture, chemical properties, minerals content, and permeability. Then relief, altitude and slope determine accumulation of soil. That can be a relief. And parent rock and flora and fauna and microorganism affect the rate of humus formation. Now here flora and fauna. Flora means what? Plant life, and fauna, animal life. So it can that affect the rate of humus formation. Okay, just have a look of the same in detail. You can take a screenshot, and these diagrams you can draw in your geography notebook. Factors of soil formation, you can draw it in your geography notebook, and you can also draw a diagram of soil, which already I have shown layers. Okay, hope you cleared all the doubts here up to here. Now we are going to learn degradation of soil and conservation measures. Okay, here we go. Now soil erosion and depletion are the major threats to the soil. Soil erosion means when due to the rainfall soil get infertile. At that time both human and natural factors can lead to the degradation of soil, and factors which lead to the soil degradation are which factors? Let's see. First one is deforestation. Then second one is overgrazing. Overuse of chemical fertilizers or pesticides. Then rainwash, landslides, and floods. So these are the factors for soil degradation. Okay. We will move towards next slide. Now, methods of soil conversion. Some methods of soil conversion are listed below, that are mulching, counter barriers, rock dams, terrace farming, intercropping, counter plugging, and shelter belts. Okay, so we will start with mulching and how it can be used. So here we go. So mulching means what? So the bare ground between plants, okay, is covered with a layer of organic matter like straw. It helps to retain soil moisture. In the picture you can see um, organic matter is covered around the tree. It can be retain a soil moisture and it is called mulching. That is the that in that way we can conserve the soil. Now next one. Here we go. So next one is terrace farming. So how we are going to do terrace farming? So broad flat steps or terraces are made on the steep slopes so that flat surface are available to grow crops and they reduce surface runoff and soil erosion as well. Okay, that will be the terrace farming. Now here at the right hand side you can see the picture of the terrace farming. Okay, next one is counter barriers. Stones, grass, soil are used to build that barriers along the counters. Then trenches are made in front of the barriers to collect the water. So due to that particular trenches collected water, it can be used for soil conservation. That is the counter barriers. Next one is counter plugging. So what is meant by that? So plugging parallel to the counters of a hill slope to form a natural barrier of water to flow down the slope. If suppose heavy rainfall will be there and because of that heavy rainfall trees should not be get destroyed. That's why that counter plugging useful for that purpose. Next one is rock dam. Rocks are piled up to the slow down the flow of water and this prevents gullies and further soil loss. Okay, so with the help of rock dam, that will the prevention to flow of that particular water flow and that will prevent further soil loss. And next one is shelter belts. In the coastal and dry regions, rows of trees in a one row you can observe in the picture, in a one row only shelter belts. Okay, in the coastal and dry regions rows of the trees are planted to check the wind movement to protect the soil cover. Okay, because of that we can guess the wind movement as well as. And one more that is the intercropping. So different crops are grown in alternate rows and are sown at different time to protect the soil from rainwash. That is called as a intercropping, means different crops are grown in alternate rows, means suppose eight rows are there. Okay, so in the first row wheat will be there, in the second row maybe um, rice will be there. So according to that, alternately it can be planted over there, alternate row. That is the intercropping. That is called intercropping. So here we learned about resource, land and soil. Now we will move towards next one, that is water. So water is a vital renewable natural resource. It is very important resource. Why important? You can write, you can speak lots of things on this particular topic. 3/4 of the earth's surface is covered with water, and it is therefore appropriately called water planet. So here question can come, why earth is called water planet? So now are you able to answer why it is called water planet? 3/4 of earth's surface is covered with water. That's why it is called water planet. It was in the primitive oceans that life began almost 3.5 billion years back. And even today, the oceans cover 2/3 of Earth's surface and support a rich variety of plants, animal life, etc. And the ocean water is, however, a saline and not fit for human consumption. That is a saline water. So, fresh water accounts for only about 2.7%, and nearly 70% of this occurs as ice sheets and glaciers in Antarctica, Greenland, and mountain regions. And due to their location, they are inaccessible. Obviously, we cannot access all that glaciers or ice sheets. So only fresh water accounts only for only 2.7%, which can be fit for human use, and it is found as groundwater, as surface water in rivers and lakes, and as water vapor in the atmosphere. Now here a term is called water vapor. So with that water vapor, obviously a water cycle will come. So we will have detailed information about water cycle. Yes. So fresh water is therefore the most precious substance on earth, right? So water can neither be added for nor subtracted from the earth. That is also fine, it's okay. So its total volume remains constant. Its abundance only seem to vary because it is in constant motion, cycling through the ocean, the air, the land, and back again. And through the process of evaporation, precipitation, and runoff, this is, as you already know, is referred to as water cycle, right? So water cycle is one of the most interesting environmental cycle, right? So water cycle is a simple to understand process, and that's water cycle is also called H2O cycle or the hydrologic cycle. Why? Water is important for all living beings, and water cycle keeps providing us with fresh water continuously. And this is reversible cycle, which means every stage in the cycle keeps repeating itself. Am I right? So in this, in order to provide all that water, let us understand each stage one by one. Okay, listen carefully now. In the first stage, the sun starts to evaporate the water in the water bodies like oceans, seas, lakes, ponds, rivers, etc. This water is in the liquid stage in the water bodies but changes in weather and heating due to the sun converts it into uh, gaseous form, and slowly these vapors of water start rising up to the sky. So transpiration, which is water escaping from plants due to sun's heat, also contributes to some extent to the process of evaporation. In the step 2, in the process 2, condensation. It is in this stage cloud formation occurs, and the water in the form of vapor rising cool down at a certain height and condenses to form clouds. Then precipitation. So the water keeps condensing to form clouds. But when there is too much accumulation or collection of water in these clouds, the clouds become what? Heavy. And this means the air can no longer hold this much amount of water, and the water starts to fall back, and mostly in the form of rain. Exactly. And these water falling down in the form of rain or snow get collected in the different water bodies. Correct? So when it falls on the ground, it gets stored under the ground and is called groundwater. Then again evaporation start due to the sun's heat, and the cycle happens again and again. So this was the about water cycle. Okay. So we will move towards next slide, that is what problems can be occurred for availability of water. So major factors for water shortage. So there is a scarcity of water in many regions actually. Do you know, if you have heard about that, um, one city there is, that is Amreli, okay, in region Saurashtra, with a population of 1.25 lakhs and completely dependent on purchasing water from the nearby talukas. They have to purchase water. There is a water market. Now we have seen market, but in that market what we are purchasing, different tools, different type of material, etc. But in Amreli they have water market. Okay. So, water shortage may be a consequence of variation in seasonal or annual precipitation, or the scarcity is caused by over exploitation and contamination of water resource actually. So conservation of water resource is also most important thing, and few factors are there that can be a caused water shortage, that can be population growth, rising demands for food and cash crops, increasing urbanization, rising standard of living, etc. Now think about it students, what can be more factors of water shortage, and you can include in your notes. And then conservation of water resource, how we can conserve it. So access to clean and adequate water sources is a major problem facing the world today. So steps have to be taken to conserve this resource. even though water is renewable resource, as we have seen, learnt. Its overuse and pollution make it unfit to use. The discharge of untreated or partially treated sewage, agricultural chemicals, and industrial influence in water bodies are major contaminants. They pollute water with different type of metals and pesticides. So most of these chemicals are dangerous for the aquatic animals. So water pollution can be controlled by threatening these influents suitably before releasing them in water bodies. So to conserve all that water resource, afforestation. So first thing we can do. Forest and other vegetation cover slow the surface runoff and replenish underground water. Then water harvesting is another method to save surface runoff. Canals used for irrigating fields should be properly lined to minimize losses by water seepage. Sprinklers effectively irrigate the area by checking water losses through seepage and evaporation. So, drip and trickle irrigation is very useful actually, and that is very valuable as well. So, therefore, we conserve by adopting all these means of irrigation resource or the irrigation systems. Next is natural vegetation and wildlife. In the class 6th and 7th NCERT, we have already learned the interaction of three areas, that is lithosphere, hydrosphere and atmosphere, which leads a narrow content zone which called biosphere. Okay, and in that biosphere which actually life exists, which can be, we can see, um, actually life exists over there, that is the ecosystem. Okay, so we can say that a natural vegetation and wildlife exist only in the narrow zone of that contact between the lithosphere, hydrosphere and atmosphere, that we can call biosphere. And in that biosphere, living beings are interrelated and interdependent on each other for survival. So this life supporting system is known as ecosystem. Means they are interdependent on each other. So vegetation and wildlife are valuable resources. So plants provide us food, oxygen, timber, gives shelter to animals, produce oxygen we breathe, protect soils. So essential for growing crops, act as shelter belts, helping in storage of underground water, gives us fruits, nuts, latex. So medicinal plant, we can say, all that essential for your survival. So there are number of uses of plant, and uh, yes, definitely we can add more also. And what animals can give? They are giving milk, they are giving wool, meat, etc. So wildlife includes animals, basically birds, insects, as well as aquatic life forms. And that's why insect like bees provide us honey, help in pollination of flower, and have an important role to play and decomposers in the ecosystem. And the birds feed on insects and act as a decomposer as well. Decomposer means, for example, vulture, we can say, due to its ability to feed on dead livestock, is a scavenger and considered a vital cleanser. It cannot cleanse that particular soil of the environment. So animals big or small, are integral or maintaining balance in the ecosystem basically. Okay, so that is the natural vegetation and wildlife. Here we can have a detailed information about that. Okay, now next we are going to see distribution of natural vegetation actually. Let's see. So the growth of vegetation depends primarily on temperature and moisture, okay, according to its particular region. So the major vegetation types of the world are grouped as a forest, grasslands, shrubs and tundra. So in areas of heavy rainfall or huge trees, many thrive. The forests are thus associated with the areas having abundant water supply, lots of water supply. As the amount of moisture decreases, the size of tree and their density also reduces. And short stunted trees can and grasses grow in that particular region of moderate rainfall, forming the grasslands of the world. Thorny shrubs and scrubs grow in dry areas. Why? Because of low rainfall. In such areas, plants have deep roots and leaves with thorny and waxy surface. That plants are providing which roots under the ground, no? So that roots are providing the life to that dead plants. So tundra vegetation of cold and in the polar region, as you can see in the picture also, forests, grasslands, shrubs, the tundra region, that tundra region, that vegetation of cold or polar regions comprises of mosses and the lynches. So forests are broadly classified as a as in the two form again. Okay, which are they? Let's see. So distribution of natural vegetation again in the evergreen forest and deciduous forest, that depending on when they shed their leaves. So first one is evergreen forest. Evergreen forests do not shed their leaves simultaneously. Just a second, students. Yeah. Evergreen forests do not shed their leaves simultaneously in any season of the year. And deciduous forests shed their leaves in a particular season to conserve loss of moisture through transpiration. And both type of the forest are further classified as tropical or the temperate based on their location in different particular latitudes. Okay, so and there are many more people in the world that 2 centuries back, to feed growing numbers, larger areas of forest have been cleared to grow crops. Forest cover all the world, vanishing rapidly. All that they are observing. For example, grandparents are there. They are continuously observing the rapid changes in the society, rapid changes in the atmosphere, in the climate, and how world is vanishing rapidly. So they can tell us very effectively. So if you want any particular regarding information regarding your area, just ask your grandparents how that it can be it changed accordingly. So here we have seen two different types or the classification of the natural vegetation, that is evergreen forest and deciduous forest. Now how we can conserve natural vegetation and wildlife. We have seen we can how we can conserve soil, land, water. Now how we can conserve natural vegetation and wildlife. Forests are our wealth. Correct? So plants give shelter to the animals and together they maintain the ecosystem, as we have seen. So changes of climate and human interferences can cause the loss of natural habitats for the plants and animals. And many species have become vulnerable, or it can be a very, in a extinction, it can be a very, in a quantity, we can say it is decreasing. So deforestation, soil erosion, constructional activities, forest fires, tsunami, landslides are some of the human and natural factors which accelerate the process of extinction of these resources. Correct? So because of that, we can get all that factors. And one of the major concern is the um, poaching, which result in the sharp decline in the number of particular species, and the animals are suffering because of all that climatic conditions, right? So, conservation measures in that national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, biosphere reserves are made to protect our natural vegetation and wildlife. So, national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, very well. Biosphere reserve means a particular region, a zone which humans can allowed over there. Okay, so that will be the biosphere reserve. Then awareness programs like social forestry or Vanamotsav, like that. So that can be a different conservation for the natural vegetation and wildlife programs that can be over there. So laws and trades and poaching of birds and animals, actually an international convention, CITES, has been established that list of several species of animals and birds in which trade is prohibited, actually. Okay, which trading was going on the animals, that animals and birds, that is actually prohibited, not allowed. So conservation of plants and animals is an ethical duty of every citizen. And due to that convention of international trade in trade system, near about 5,000 species of animal and 28,000 species of plant are protected. In that, bears, dolphin, cacti, corals, orchids, and aloes are some of the examples. And because of that, that are um, safe, we can say. So, as previous 15 days ago, if you heard a news about elephant, yes, that elephant killed by one of the army officer only. So in that way, it can be a difficult, or it can be a dangerous for the animals. That's why we have, it is ethical duty of every citizen that we have to stop all that particular things. Okay, so here theoretically we complete our chapter. So you have to read that chapter twice, draw. When I will provide you PDF, side by side you have to draw the diagrams from the chapter. Okay, and definitions also you have to write from the textbook. For example, biosphere reserves, national parks, etc. And few two activities, small activities I'm going to give you. What are that? Let's see. The same explanation over here. So activity 1, a collage of a forest. Okay, you have to take a paper. Okay, on that drawing paper you have to make collage of forest. Don't paste direct picture of forest. You have to do collage of that. You know very well what is collage drawing, and you have to do that. collage of forest. So different type of red color paper you can use, brown paper you can use, for flowers you can use different colorful papers. So whatever material is available in your home, that you have to use, and with that help you have to make a nice and beautiful attractive collage of the forest, which things you can find over there in the forest, in that way. And second activity is, it is in the written form, it is already in our textbook, that only we have to do, and we have to keep a record of that. We have to make a report. What is that? I will tell you. Okay, read activity in detail. Okay, take a two tray A and B. Name is given. Tray means you can take any waste material over there for that particular activity. Okay, make 6 hole at one end of these tray and then fill them with the same amount of soil. Leave the soil in a tray A bare, while sow wheat or rice as you wish grains in a tray B. When the grain in tray B has grown a few centimeter high, place both the tray in such a way that they are on a slope. As you can observe in the picture, pour 1 mug of water from the same height into each tray and collect the muddy water that trickle down the holes of the both tray into two separate containers and compare how much soil is washed out of the each tray. Okay, so amount you can choose over there, and that process. So in the report form, what you have to do on a paper, simple paper you can use for the report writing of that particular activity. In a simple way you have to do. Okay, what you are going to do, name of activity, these things should be included over there. Activity development committee means from your house, who helped you, parents, grandparents, or siblings, whatever, that will be included in activity development committee. Obviously your name will be there. Then acknowledgement, here who helps you over there, from where you have taken references, to whom you are going to say thank you, to whom you are grateful to help, all that people, all that references or books, that will be included in the acknowledgement. Okay, then index, if suppose you will make one file, no, so that will be helpful for our social science project, that we will continue for it. And if you don't available now, so don't take attention over there. You just I said, you can write it on one page. Okay, so both options I gave you, afterward also we can use it. And process, then steps you have to write. Okay, how you did it. Yes, obviously it will take time, because you are going to put soil, then a few centimeters that plants will grow. So it will take time, don't take tension. So from today you can start it, or from tomorrow you can start it, and it will take a while, near about 1 week. Then observation, you have to observe it carefully. Okay, how it grows and what changes you are observed over there. And conclusion, what you learned from that. Fine. And photo, it is a optional thing. So as a memory you can paste it a photo of that particular activity with your image. Okay, that is the related, both two activities related to our this chapter. Hope you understood this chapter, students. Read it twice, and all the best for both activity. Okay, till then, goodbye. Thank you so much.